Resident Evil 2 Remake might be one of my favorite games ever made. It is amazing survival horror, and I've replayed it more times than I can count. I have gotten S+ ranking in every one of the categories: standard, hardcore, second run, every single one. I might just be the best Resident Evil player to ever live. And today we are going to be trying one of my favorite speedrunning categories, Garage Percent. For those who are unaware, Garage Percent is just to see how fast you can get out of the RPD building. Our goal is to see if we can beat this speedrun in under an hour and 47 minutes, which, if you're unaware, is the slowest time on record for speedrunning Resident Evil 2 standard, held by JR, a French person. So we're not gonna let this man beat us today. Well, Gatsby, I hear you saying, this should be super easy. I can do this with my eyes closed. First off, viewer, no you can't, you're trash. Secondly, that there's gonna be a little bit of a twist. All the enemies are going to be 3 times as fast and 3 times as large. Here's a little demonstration. I thought this would be pretty easy, no stress about it, but let me tell you, after doing this run, I've been through my own personal hell with this game. But you'll just have to wait and see why. Anyways, without any further ado, let's get right into it, and let's see if we can beat JR and finally take down the French. So the run started easy enough. Went to the gas station, said hi to the cop, but as soon as we ran into our first zombie, you'll notice that the enemies attack 3 times as fast, so there's no time to react. And also their heads are peeking through the wall, so there's no way to get a headshot on these guys. But otherwise, everything went super fine, super easy, great start. Everything was going so well until we had to get out of the car, and then bam, everything fell apart. I was catching hands, I was catching teeth, I was catching compliments. Everyone was on me. You don't have enough bullets this early on to fight all of them off, so your best bet at this point is just to run and pray that you can make it through. Normally that's easy enough, but with everyone being 3 times as fast and 3 times as big, good luck. Within 5 minutes of this run, I was starting to realize how stupid this was, but I wasn't going to give up so easily. Every time I would get in view of the RPD gate, I would get jumped by the last group of zombies, and I was starting to lose morale pretty quickly. I was just about to give up, but then I remembered why I was doing this. JR had held this record for years. The French would not win again, I swore to myself, so I pushed through. I used my ingenious Resident Evil skills by just running and kind of hoping I made it through eventually, which I did. After 10 minutes of struggling, I finally made it to the RPD building, and that is when this run actually became challenging. You see, the trick with this run is that the actual challenge came in the fact that the zombies were clipping through everything, and with how fast they were, it was impossible to actually kill them before they attacked me. So I was just getting stuck in these long hallways when I was surrounded by zombies, making this challenge way more difficult than it should have been. But I pushed through, just like any good speedrunner. I grabbed the journal, asked Marvin for some advice, he didn't give any, and then I ran away with a knife. Luckily, starting out, everything was pretty simple once we entered the RPD building. The first hallway, there's only one zombie that attacks you right away, and even though it's a bit awkward, it's pretty easy to push through if you know what you're doing. My confidence had shot through the roof again. I was ready to face this challenge head on. However, the moment I jumped out the window, I saw the zombie doing some terrible stuff to this vending machine, and to say that I was actually terrified would be an understatement. But I pretended not to see it to respect his privacy, and I just kept pushing forward. Pushing forward, everything went as expected. I got the extended mag, I got the backpack, everything was looking up. Going through the police station, everything at the beginning was super simple. There were a few run-ins with the zombies, but for the most part, everything was pretty easy to navigate, even with them being 3 times as fast. Anyways, if you played this game, you know how it goes. Marvin, Claire, helicopter, bye. It's all pretty simple stuff. We were on world record pace until we ran into the liquor hallway. Now, these guys are normally fast enough to be scary already, so the fact that they're now 3 times speed and 3 times big, I was a little bit nervous with how this was gonna go. And at first, I thought everything was gonna be completely fine. Got into the STARS office, got all that stuff, it went fine. However, once we left the hallway, I realized very quickly, walking slowly was not gonna make any sort of difference here. I went from calm to panic within seconds. Everything was falling apart. I barely escaped with my life, but at least I knew the moment I got out of that hallway, there was no other enemy that would cause me any sort of issues, and the entire rest of this run would be fine. Anyways, everything else went pretty smoothly. Did some light looting, grabbed all 3 of the medallions, and I was ready to do my first boss fight with Burkin. I was preparing myself emotionally for what could be one of the hardest boss fights of this run, being that it's the only boss fight for this run. But I was preparing myself. Anything could happen. I got down there, and as soon as I moved the cabinet, he didn't show up. Turns out the game does not like when you make the enemies 3 times as big. So Burkin just didn't spawn the first time, and Leon kind of just got knocked around by nothing. So I count this as a total win in my book. Naturally, I'm no cheater, so I had to restart it and then make him smaller and then make him bigger so he'd actually spawn. But once I did get him to spawn, actually the boss fight was still pretty easy. He kind of just glitched through the wall and ran around. The thing with the enemies being this big is that the real damage comes from the fact that they'll just run into you and knock you down, and sometimes they'll stun lock you, which happened a few times, but luckily with Burkin, that was fine. He didn't do enough damage. So being that I am the best Resident Evil player, I beat Burkin handedly, and there was no issues whatsoever. It was the easiest boss fight I've ever done. Literally baby's first boss fight. Once I got back up to the surface, I saw it, the exit. I knew I was so close to the end. I was so close to finally beating that record set by JR. Anyways, I couldn't get distracted now. I said hi to Ada real quick, and then I ran over to the jail cells to say hi to this man in the prison who happened to have the garage parking card. I asked him nicely for it. Ooh, he's dead. Anyways, I wasn't gonna let the death of this man kill my run because that would not be very cash money at all. So I decided to get to work. The underground parking lot went about as you expected, and yes, the dogs were huge. To say I was terrified of them would be an understatement. I knew for a fact they would be trouble. After unlocking the door to get back upstairs, I knew for a fact a bunch of them would spawn, and I prepared myself emotionally. And even though I knew what was happening, I could never be prepared for what actually happened. So it turns out them being 3 times as fast worked out in my favor because they never once hit me. They were just zooming around. It was actually really funny. They never once hit me. They just kept zooming around. So after getting back upstairs, we start our search for the 2 electrical parts that were missing. Real quick, before we get started, we have to go say hi to Marvin. You get it? I thought it was funny. Anyways, everything was going great. Spirits were high. We were using the twirly thingy to open doors. We were putting out fires. Everything was going great until I knew Mr. X was around the corner. I knew that this was going to be the hardest part of the run. I prepared myself emotionally, physically, spiritually, in every possible way. I was ready for the worst to happen. I turned the corner, and then he just ran away immediately. Didn't even give me a chance to say hi. He was gone. Yeah, don't worry if you thought that this was going to be too easy, though. That was just a fluke. He immediately came back and flattened me like a pancake. And this went on for hours. And when I say hours, let me tell you, I was trapped in this corner hallway for more time than I'm willing to admit. The problem with them being so big is that he would just bump into me and stun lock me, and there was no way for me to get out. I was getting pummeled for hours. To say this was mildly killing the speed run would be an understatement. But if you're not, viewer, I finally had enough. I decided that the only way for me to get out of this hallway was for me to stand my ground and waste all my ammo on him. So I did that, and the rest of this run was cursed because of it. Now, the problem we were running into is the fact that I had used all of my healing items earlier on because I kept getting hit by random zombies. So there was no more healing items in the entire RPD. Everything was gone. So I was running on half health, barely able to walk, getting just destroyed by Mr. X. It was the worst experience. Now, luckily that we've gotten away from Mr. X at this point, the next stop we have to go down is that first hallway where we have to go unlock the door to get the lever to move the bookcase so we can get to the electrical part. Now, the problem is that there's a licker in that hallway, and as we talked about earlier, they don't care that you're silent. They will attack you regardless. So what do you get when you add a licker, a random zombie, and Mr. X into a small hallway? Hell. That's what you get. Finally, after quite a while of running down this hallway, I used my incredible Resident Evil skills and no luck whatsoever to get out of this hallway and saved immediately because I'm never going back in there the same man. I immediately ran up to the clock tower and finished the puzzle up there to get the last electrical part that we need to finish the puzzle. And to say I was relieved would be an understatement. We were so close to the end. I could hear JR laughing in that disgusting French accent because he thought he got gotten the better of me, but I was about to take that record. No one could stop me. I danced with Mr. X for a little bit, and then I was able to go get the Lightning Hawk because I believed it would come in handy for this last little part. And let me tell you, it actually was just a waste of time. I did not need this. After reflecting on my journey as I made my way down to the parking lot, I remembered all the good times I had had during this journey. Larvin, getting my face beaten by Mr. X in the hallway several hundred times. You know, it was special to me. As I made my way towards the jail, all the dogs in the parking lot were cheering me on. Or at least I think that's what they were doing, because they sure were not attacking me. As I walked down the hallway, people who've played Resident Evil will know that this was about to be the most challenging part of the run, as once I opened the gate to get the card, all the jail cells would open, and all the zombies inside would be let out, and everything would go to chaos. I finished the puzzle and grabbed the card. I prepared myself. I knew what was coming. As I went towards the jail cells, they opened, and they all actually kind of ignored me. I hit the lever and they all missed me. It was surprisingly easy, an anticlimax for sure, but I had done it. I had done the impossible. The moment I walked out of the door, Mr. X grabbed me by the neck, but Ada came in and saved my life, and the run was done. All I had to do was put the card in the machine, and I had made history. Done it, did it, completed, done, finished, epic. That's me. I'm the best. That's right. And that was the end. That is how I completed the hardest Resident Evil speedrun ever created, Garage%. And if you think you can do better than me, you can't, so don't even try. As for the time of the run, it was like 4 hours. But, you know, I think I still get points for doing it with style. So really, I think we still take this victory over JR. So take that, you random Frenchman, person, whoever you are. Anyways, bye.